for 2020, let's make it our second resolution.
Is to become young and fun.
No, just to like get out there a little more.
I know, you're right.
We need to have fun.
Yeah.
We're not dead. We're still young, attractive. I mean, me more than Jenna, but
wow.
We still got
Apparently egos are the same in 2020.
This is where I say new year, new me, but then I pull off a mask and it's still me underneath.
Okay.
My ego is like 80% of our brand.
It is true. That is very true.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Menage-A-Pod, the hysterical comedy podcast about sex, dating, relationships, and everything in between. I'm TJ, and as always, I'm joined by the baby New Year to my Dick Clark, Jenna.
I thought you were going to stop at Dick, and I was like, that is super inappropriate.
No, Dick Clark, he's old. He does the New Year's Eve, rocking New Year's, and your baby New Year.
I mean, I'm 90, remember? So I know who Dick Clark is.
You are. And I literally just made that up as I was looking at this. So
impressive.
I feel good about it. I feel like that's a good
New year, new you.
Yeah, it's a good. I think that's a good signal for the direction of this episode.
Totally. Welcome to 2020, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy fucking New Year.
I'm so excited to have a new beginning. I never make resolutions, like ever, because I know I will never stick to them.
Of course. Why would you?
Did make one this year. Did you make one this year?
Generally.
Which was what? Share with our friends.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, circle of trust. If these things, they guys stay between us, just me, Jenna, and
like
several
Fight Club.
Of our closest friends.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just kind of made a resolution to focus more on the things that I care about, be more internal in terms of like, I stress out about a lot of external things that I can't really control, and I'm trying to really just focus on the things that are more controllable in my life. So that's my resolution.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think
I also made that up right on the spot.
you did.
Sure
well, then
did.
you didn't really have one. That doesn't count. But that's a good one. You should put that into practice.
It is now my resolution. I feel like
now you put it out there.
I was going to say, yes.
We're going to all hold you accountable for that.
Please, everybody hold me accountable. If you see me out there and I am not absolutely living my best, most self-intentioned life, then call me out on it immediately.
Yep. Mine actually was very interesting and then was validated by this psychic reading I had this morning that we should talk about. Yeah. So we had originally recorded this episode before the new year.
And what happened, Jenna?
And TJ accidentally erased it instead of saving it. Womp womp. So we're re-recording, but there have been developments since then. So it feels like, whatever. Anyway, so at this point, it's been a couple of weeks. And those of you that have been following along and asking about my relationship is no longer happening. So womp womp, 6 months. And it was pretty good, actually, for a good 6 months. And the breakup actually came out of nowhere. It was his decision. I won't go into it, but
his loss, girl.
His loss. But here's what was really interesting about, not interesting, but like kind of what I took away from it was I have been, as like the new year approached, I was like, man, 2017, fuck you. 2017 was my divorce. And then like when it was officially official. And then 2018 felt like a year of, I don't know, healing pretty much, just like healing. I felt like I needed to like figure out who I was again and all that bullshit after a divorce. So 2019, I was saying to my mom, I felt really stagnant, like, which is not a terrible thing because it's better. I would rather have a pretty like status quo ho hum year than have like
for stability.
Totally. Than have like a bullshit up and down year. I mean, shit did happen. Rob and I broke up. Cooper died. Bump. But like, but generally speaking, it was a pretty status quo year. And I was like, so I feel like the universe is setting me up for 2020 to be, because it feels like a year of kind of like laying foundations and figuring out a direction in life and like all these other things. And so 2020, I was hoping to be like this. 2020 is going to be my year.
I had no idea that you had this kind of emotional depth, Jenna.
You didn't? Well, it's because you don't ask me questions like that.
I feel like sometimes it's better for me not to.
Well, remember, therapy.
Yeah.
So anyway, then this morning, so my sister has this neighbor who is a friend of hers who is a medium. And she's also a healer. And she has like past life regressions, future life, like whatever. I don't know how all that works. But I talked to her this morning right before you got here for an hour, and it was as if she was in my brain. And she basically said what I just said to you about how she was like, what happened in 2017? She was like, I know you probably want to talk about work. Like everyone always wants to talk about love and work and whatever, right? She was, but what's popping really heavily for you right now is love. She's like, what the fuck she literally said that. She's like, what the fuck is going on in your world? And I was like, let me tell you, sister, I have no idea.
Is this where you admit finally that you and I are going to fall in love and be together forever?
No.
We have been together for almost 2 years.
We have been.
Yeah.
We have been. Wow. Who would have seen that one coming?
Absolutely fucking nobody.
Nobody. Oh, that's so sweet.
2 years.
Love you, buddy.
Love you too.
So anyway, she basically said exactly what I said to you. And she was like, what's going on in your life? 2017, that fucking sucked. And she was like, here's what's going on in your world is that like the last couple of years you've been clearing out this, like, if you believe this, and I do believe this, that like, you clear out, you have lessons that you have to learn each life. It's like a karmic thing. And we talked about this on the episode with, was it Beth maybe, where we talked about how you can like raise your vibration and you have to like get through these lessons in order to kind of raise your vibration. So she said to me, she was like, these last couple of years have really sucked for you. She's like, but I need you to know that like you're done. Like you were done clearing out your these like past life lessons that you've had to learn. She's like, and you keep meeting these men who are like, who like aren't stable. She's like, and I said, that's so funny that you say that.
Guilty.
Because, yeah. She's like, I was like, it's so funny that you say that because that's exactly what I said to my mom. I was like, why is it so hard to find somebody who's stable and can meet me where I am? Right. I mean, I'm not stable. We all have our shit. Right. But like, I mean, in my marriage, I have a massive fear of abandonment because he was always 1 foot out the door, right? And I know that about myself. And it triggers me in certain relationships when people do certain things, right? But I am emotionally aware enough at this point of myself what triggers that, right? So I can communicate that. And that was one of the issues with Rob is I would communicate it to him, but he would hear me, but he wouldn't really hear me. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so where I thought I was trying to work through something, I don't think he was emotionally mature enough to understand. He understood it, but to put it in practice, or maybe he just didn't want to. I don't know. Right.
No conscious decision to act upon it.
Exactly. So she basically said the same thing. She was like, it was just really awesome because she totally validated all these things I was like internally thinking about myself. And
they have a way of doing that.
They do. And she was awesome because she goes, can I ask you something? She's like, do you feel like after all of these failed relationships, like, what's wrong with me? I literally said those words after Rob and I broke up to my friend Chrissy. And I was like, what is wrong with, and to Tabitha, I was like, what's wrong with me? I was like, I am the common denominator of all these failed relationships. Is there something about me that's doing this? And she was like, the thing is, Jenna, is that like you're picking, the people that you're picking are these people who aren't ready to meet you where you are. She was like, it's not you. You just haven't found your person. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a bullshit thing. She's like, no, I promise you. And so she says to me, I want you to like focus on you and kind of just do a detox, do a male detox for, she said, actually April is when I see things start shifting for you energy wise. And I was like, that's so weird that you say that. Cause did I say this to you? Cause I said, I'm never like, I want to take off 6 months from dating and kind of like turn the camera back to me and like really.
Wait, the camera's not always on you?
Well, in my world it is. Where it's like this whole, like just work on me, right? To be a better partner or whatever. And love myself more, really, which is what all
new year, new me, right?
New year, new me. And so she actually said, and I just said that to somebody the other day, and she goes, I think it's important for you to focus on you. And she's like, give it a couple months. She's like, you don't have to give it a full year. She's like, give it about like 4 or 5 months. She's like, in an April, May, and your energy is going to start to shift. And
that's indigestion.
And it's going to come back to you. All the good things are going to come back to you. And so she sees me meeting someone, she said, before the end of 2020. She said around that, after that April, May time period, so like the last half of 2020. And she said it's going to move really fast. And she says, like, honestly, he's going to be, and she listed out every single thing I said to my mom about what I wanted in a man. It was like I put it on a vision board, and she listed out the qualities that I asked for, that I said to my mom in a private conversation. It was bananas. I was like,
well, I mean, how hard is it to guess wealthy and a big dick? Come on.
Neither one of those were there.
But
that doesn't hurt.
We'll accept.
I'm not going to say no. So anyway, it was awesome. She was awesome. I feel like if anyone wants her information, she's located in Connecticut, but obviously she does phone readings. So if you guys want her information, DM us and I will give it to you because she's awesome. And it was like,
that sounds awesome.
For an hour, it was like $120, which isn't a lot because usually they're like $150.
Wait, I wonder how, like, what the like medium to hooker pricing equivalency is. If for our male listeners, what could you get for $120?
I know, it depends on the hooker.
That's true. Where are you at?
Yeah.
Are you on the south side?
Wow. Anyway, so it was super, super cool. If anyone wants her info, DM us. I'll give it to you. Her name's Teresa. She's pretty cool. And she was like super normal. She wasn't like this weird, you know, like some of them are weird and like woo-woo.
Yeah.
She was cool.
Weird and what was that?
Woo-woo?
Yeah. That's my biggest pet peeve, man. I can never, when there's too much woo-woo in my life. And I wanted to say, when you were talking about energy shifts and I said indigestion, every time I've ever farted in front of a woman,
wow,
I just say it's an energy shift.
Wow. Really?
That's not real.
Are you sure it's not?
It's really not.
Okay. Anyway, so do you want to tell them what we're talking about today?
Yeah, I think so. So, guys, it's 2020, like Jenna said, new year, new me, right? We're all focusing on ourselves, trying to keep those resolutions or not keep them. And, you know, one of the things that we saw and we kind of wanted to be on trend is we noticed everybody doing their kind of best and worst of 2019 and some of the things they're looking forward to in 2020. So we're going to throw our hat in the ring to give you another list that you can either listen to or not, but please listen to it because I love us.
I love us too.
Jenna, I love you.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
2 years strong, friend. All right. Well, Jen and I, we're both cool. We're totally influencers. We stand behind the things we recommend.
I mean, you are.
I'm trying real hard. I have a lot of free time lately, so I'm really focusing on the side hustles. So,
I hear ya.
guys, if you can follow me on Instagram at Chicago Cafe Racer, and also follow the podcast at Menage-A-Podcast.
Yeah, I'm not an influencer, and I'm okay with that. But I feel like we did this last year, right? Didn't we do?
We did, but you know, we did it like badly last year. It was only our third or fourth episode, and it's our lowest downloaded episode in terms of like per week average.
But I think part of that is also the timing.
Yeah, it was new.
It was holiday.
We were new. Yeah.
Well, and holiday.
Yeah. So this is people are back at work. They're ready to hear what's going on in the lives of Jenna and TJ, the two most interesting people in Chicagoland.
Yeah.
So without any further ado, we're going to give you our list of top likes and dislikes for 2019.
Cool.
You want to start it off, G?
Oh, me? Yeah. Well,
Wait. Actually, can I start?
Yeah.
Okay. And before this is like not a super derail, but there are a couple things like not going on necessarily, but it builds into this. So first of all, having a conversation with someone this morning and they said, say less. Like the response to something was say less. Have you ever heard that?
In what context?
So like, we should do that sometime. Say less.
Say less and we should do that sometime?
Mm-hmm.
So what? Okay.
It means, apparently, it means for sure. And
oh, it's slang.
It is super slang.
I thought it was like advice.
No, I looked it up and I was like, dude.
I don't know how I feel about
like,
that.
I'm super on top of this shit and I feel old right now.
Oh, I always feel old.
That like blew me out of the water.
I'm not cool at all.
So that was my only non-super related to the list thing. So my number one like of 2019 is just, you know, we talked a lot last year on how happy we were to be starting the podcast. And now a year into it, you know, week in and week out, there's definitely some ups and downs and trials and tribulations, but I love doing it. It's so much fun. I obviously love the time that I get to spend being creative with my friend Jenna, but I also love that it gives me an outlet to kind of like put myself out there and I get to meet a lot of cool people. And that's kind of the biggest and best part is, you know, some of the friendships and relationships and other cool creators that we've met. So it's allowed me to do some other things. I don't know if you know this, but I probably do. But
tell me anyway.
I know
everything about you.
You do. You know most things. Well, I just started my first, my photography business.
Yeah.
So guys, follow TJ Saposi Photography on Facebook.
Yeah, you should. It's actually really good.
Yes. And
like surprisingly good. Because TJ likes to like consider himself a connoisseur of everything, but this one he's really good at.
I appreciate that, G. So what happened, I've been kind of doing it on a lower level, and I really wanted to scale that. And a friend of the show, Andrea Rappaport, who is a local kind of podcaster, mom blogger, and influencer, she reached out to me and asked me about doing a shoot for her. So Friday, we went to the West Loop, and we did this really cool shoot. It's kind of themed like kind of mom amongst the chaos. So we did these real cool contrast shots of her in this like glamorous gown in like a dumpster. It was really, really fun. I had a good time doing it. So meeting people like Andrea, and guys, you should check out her podcast. She's incredible. Follow her on Instagram at the Andrea Rappaport.
And she'll be on.
We're having her on. We have a really great idea for an episode we're going to do with her. And then there's two more people in particular, or two more entities. One being Sean and Corey from Number 6 with Cheese and the Unemployables Pod.
Totally. I love them.
They were great guys. Their episode on ours was fun. As I said before, listening to their podcast is great. They just released a hot sauce called Sixer sauce. I bought a bottle of it. It is incredible. So check that out. Go to their website, get some Sixer sauce, and listen to their podcast. But then lastly,
they're killing it. Honestly, they're so smart. Like, it's a smart way to like market and merchandise themselves. Like, they're really smart business people. Like, not for nothing, but like before I met them, I just thought they were like two like broy guys just hanging out, because that's like their thing.
No, they're good.
But they're good, and they're smart, and they're funny, and they're driven, and they bust their ass to be successful. Like, they hustle.
They do. And I just think their talents are across like such a wide spectrum.
Totally.
And they have an event, like a events kind of page where they document events. It's called Sean and Corey, or Corey and Sean. I can't remember what it is. And they just did like their best of 2019 YouTube video I watched the other day. Some of the shit they do is like incredible. I mean, they're good dudes. So check them out. And
they're just good people too, honestly.
And again, go back and listen to the episode they were on with us. It was our long distance relationship episode.
Womp.
Exactly. As Jenna's wraps up. And then my final one for my like number one favorite thing, and I guess this is kind of a loophole since I'm listing so much, but so recently we have another local comedian and podcaster who's going to be coming on an episode, and we met just literally through Instagram and friends in common. She also has a podcast, like I said. It's called That Time I Got Arrested. Jenna, I know I sent you the guys.
It's insane.
It's insane. So I told her that I was going to talk about it on this episode and just give it just a quick blurb, because she did the same for us. And guys, I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't tell you about it.
It's an incredible story. Her story is...
The first episode, the prologue, is only like 13 minutes long. Listen to that. Just commit to listening to that. That Time I Got Arrested. Her name is B. Casper. BECASPER on Instagram. So look at that up. Check out her podcast. I promise you, trigger warning for episode 17. It's intense. The premise is it's just her crazy life story, all these times she's gotten arrested. And then she has on other comedians and creators to talk about times they'd gotten arrested. It's a roller coaster.
But the thing is, well, I've only listened to a handful of episodes. I listened to the one that you sent me. And then, of course, I went down a rabbit hole because I was stranded in LaGuardia for
I listened to 44 episodes in 3 days.
Holy shit. But it feels like it's more than that, because like when you originally pitched me her podcast, I was like, Time I Got Arrested. Okay, cool. And then I thought it would just like be a bunch of like ridiculous, funny stories. But it's more than that. Like, her life is a roller coaster, or her early life was a bit of a roller coaster. And she's very like candid about it, and she's very open, and she's very like vulnerable about it, which I think gives it such a whole different layer than what you originally think just by the title.
Well, and she has like such a dark sense of humor.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Guys, and this is also just a warning for me, and I told her I was going to say this. So it from the beginning to the end, a roller coaster is how I would describe it, because my opinion about the show, even about her, vacillated so wildly from episode to episode, because there will be times you'll just be like, oh my God, how would she do that? That's the stupidest shit ever. Or, oh my God, that's brilliant. She's hysterical. And sometimes, there were even moments where I questioned if it was even real.
Yeah.
But regardless, from top to bottom, it is like riveting. And I like I said, I watched listened to 44 episodes in 3 days. And if that's not a massive endorsement, then I don't know what is.
Yeah. I'm really excited to actually meet her in person.
Yeah, she's a trip.
I like cannot wait for the conversations that are going to come out of that.
So that's my number one. Like, the podcast and all the cool people we've gotten to meet, and just like being creative.
Yeah, that was my number one too. I know that we'd said that last year, obviously, but when we did this, we were just starting out. So
we were babies.
Inside of Bibbies, inside of Bibbies. Do you remember that SNL skit?
I do. Do you remember the beginning of the Joe and DJ episode when I said like 40, where I said like 40-year-old middle-aged dating baby?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, podcast is definitely my top one. I think at this point now, a year into it, it's been hard, I think sometimes, right? It's been hard because we're busy people, generally speaking. And,
although I just got a lot less busier recently.
Between relationships and travel and work and all that kind of stuff, it is hard to consistently try to turn out top level content just based on how busy you are, right? And like how much research can go into a topic and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'm excited to really see what 2020 has in store for us, because I think so I just kind of think like it's only going to get better the more we learn, and our guests now are like coming to us, which is kind of cool. Yeah. So I think it's just going to only get better. And according to my psychic lady this morning, I have a lot of creativity on me that I've been not unleashing to its full potential. So I got to turn.
You don't say.
So I got to turn that around on something. So she said painting. She clearly does not know about my painting abilities, but
you're painting minds with this podcast, Jenna.
Yeah, exactly.
You are a real Jackson Pollock.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, and also, I think what's really been interesting about this is I love the feedback we've gotten in some of the episodes of like how we're actually helping people.
Yeah.
Like on Drew's episode, which was like probably one of my top favorites.
Yeah, she was incredible.
She was awesome and so open.
Drew Lauren at drew.lauren, and her podcast is called Doing Time Podcast.
Yeah, so good. She's so good, and she was so sweet and just like very like genuine and real. Yeah. And I think that resonated, and she was very open about her struggles and with depression and all that kind of stuff. So and we had people reach out to us about that episode.
Actually, several people, yeah.
Yeah, like how great it was, how it helped them, how they felt less alone. And I love hearing that, because when you start out doing a dating podcast, a dating comedy podcast, you never know, right? Like you just kind of think like, oh, it's going to be fun, with shits and giggles. But like kind of cool that we're actually helping some people. Like it feels really rewarding.
Being honest, shitting and giggling are two of my favorite things.
Ew. We do know that you like to shit. And then I think... I feel like we give them a shout out all the time, but the Overheard and Chicago Girls
we love them.
Like become one of my two of my favorite people. They're so good at like, including us in a lot of stuff and asking us to be a part of things that they do. We don't always necessarily take them up on them based on schedules, but like they're awesome, and I think they were really good people to meet, and I kind of want to hang out with them a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Although,
can that be our second?
I don't know if I can hang with them because they're so like young and
super
fun.
Like young and hot,
and they like to go out all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
tired.
No, but for 2020, let's make it our second resolution
is to become young and fun.
No, just to like get out there a little more.
I know, you're right.
We need to have fun.
Yeah.
We're not dead. We're still young, attractive. I mean, me more than Jenna, but
wow.
We still got
apparently egos are the same in 2020.
This is where I say new year, new me, but then I pull off a mask and it's still me underneath.
Okay.
My ego is like 80% of our brand.
It is true. That is very true. Okay. So your bottom, what are we calling it?
Dislikes?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your first one?
I'm gonna say the podcast.
What?
It's hard sometimes, and
it's hard, and we fight
a lot, and like I love you as a person, and we definitely have had some like brutal fights where we've said some mean ass shit to each other.
That's true,
guys. Imagine like
in 2020, we should learn how to fight better.
Yeah, we should.
Nicer.
I'm afraid of you.
You are?
Yes.
Why?
Are you serious? I'm terrified. Guys, she's horrifying.
Oh my God, are you serious?
We're doing this on mic right now.
Wow.
For 2020, I'm going to be more intentional with the things that cause me fear.
Well, maybe if we learn how to communicate better together, we wouldn't.
Fair.
Earlier on, before things come to a head. That should be another
That's
resolution
number 3. We're gonna have the new name of this episode is Jenna and TJ's 20 New Year's resolutions for 2020.
We're gonna be very busy.
Yeah, but yeah, the number one dislike the podcast. We fight all the time. So we go through like it's funny, guys. This podcast exists in 3 stages. Periods where it's like thriving, and Jen and I are like getting along great. And her dog just farted in her face, and she's waving it away.
Really disgusting.
Yeah.
Can you smell that?
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That was like right under my nose.
Her dog is passed out dead in front of her at a table, and he just shit and like has not moved.
Gross. Sorry.
Okay, so there are 3 phases of the podcast. One where the show is like doing great. We're on like a run of good guests. We're doing great topics and it's doing really well. And Jen and I usually at that point are like doing awesome. We're hanging out more, talking more. Like then we have periods where one or both of us gets like busy and we sort of like check out on it. And it's still like going okay, but it's like harder on one or the both of us. And then there's the moments where like both kind of checked out on it. We're barely speaking. And that we go like once every like 6 weeks, we do like a 5-day stretch of that.
Yeah.
And it's hard because she's one of my best friends and I love her. So that's why the podcast is sometimes the number one dislike.
It is sort of like it is a relationship.
It's not sort of.
It is a relationship.
Because at the end of the day, I think it's easy to walk away from someone you're dating.
You do?
Look at how many people I've walked away from.
Well, that's true.
Sorry, girls.
Maybe for you.
Yeah. But then to walk away from a friend who you have a business with and you love, not only do you care about the person, but you care about that entity. And you know that even if you think you can do it going forward, that it's now a different thing.
Yeah. Agreed. I agree. That's true.
So let's get
points.
Okay, resolution number 5 or 4 or whatever.
Better communicating.
Better communicating is
Early
the
on.
one. Yep. And then we're gonna grow this podcast even more in 2020.
Yep, I like that one.
Okay.
That's a good one.
So now what's your number one dislike?
You can probably guess.
Getting dumped.
No.
Oh, Miles. Oh, Coop dying.
Yeah, Coop. I know.
I feel bad that I screamed getting dumped with so much gusto.
Oh my God.
Guys,
That
if you
did
could have
suck.
saw my
That did
face.
suck. But that was not my number one. My number one, of course, is my OG Coop. What it did was, for me, like I've never actually lost somebody really that significant. Grandparents, but I was pretty young. I was like 8 or 9, so different. But this hit me actually really, really hard. One of the hardest decisions that I ever had to make, because I had to make the decision to put him to sleep because of his heart. And it brought up all these weird, icky things that I didn't like actually from the divorce, because one of the things I kept saying to my ex, because I had Cooper before I even met him.
Right.
And I would say, I'm not strong enough and he's my baby. I will let him live forever. Please don't ever have to make me make that decision. Like, to be clear, you're going to marry me and it's going to be your decision to put him down because I can't do it. And then he wasn't here for it. And so not only was I sad about putting him down and losing my little buddy, but then there was like this weird anger part of it that was like, fuck you, man. You were supposed to do this. This wasn't supposed to be my job. I was allowed to hand it off.
Right.
But honestly, like one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but I have a good support system. I have great friends. I have that awesome picture that you took on my desk.
Which I would say is the start of my photography.
I know. Coop is like the best subject. But a lot of people sent me flowers and emailed, so it was really nice.
R.I.P. Coop. Tip of 40 for the dead black fluffy doggy.
I know. And honestly, made me really happy that I have such a good support system.
I kind of want to say, to tag on to yours, one of my dislikes is that like a week before you had to put him down, we were in the kitchen, we were recording an episode, and I accidentally kicked him. I don't know if you remember that. Oh, yeah, you knew
I was
it.
there.
Yeah, and I was just like, I felt so bad.
Well, he's under everyone's feet sometimes.
Yeah, so I kicked a dog 1 week away from his death, guys.
Oh my God, stop it.
Yeah, that's one of my downsides for 2020.
That's probably
or 19.
why he died.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Oh.
It had nothing to do with the fluid in his belly from
if
his
we
heart,
ever
but
wondered,
whatever.
If we ever wondered
Way
who
to go,
the
TJ.
evil one was on this show, it's clearly Jenna.
Like people, what? I didn't kick the dog. Anyway, next top or whatever. Hi.
It's funny that you say that. So this is again podcast related. One of the things that, I think we both started this podcast because we wanted something creative to do, but we also secretly both love attention, right?
Oh, I love attention.
Yeah,
it's no
not
secret.
a secret. No, I saw that picture on your Instagram, girl.
Oh, listen, that was so funny that you said that, because after I posted it,
I deleted it because no one liked it but Ariel.
Oh, you deleted
my comment? Yeah.
Why? I thought it was really funny.
You didn't like it. You liked every other comment on there but that one. Yeah. So guys, for those of you out there who are following Jen on Instagram, when she was on vacation just this past week, she posted a very sexy photo of her on the beach looking all tan, leaning forward with that cleave front and center.
Yeah, I did. And you know what's really funny though is that, first of all, single. So fuck off.
Yeah.
Second of all,
come get it, guys. It's like bloody chum in the water.
Second of all, what's really funny is what made me do that was Case Kenny.
Okay.
On his The Pursuit. We had him on the show, guys. His, I don't know, one of his like Instagram posts came up and it said something like, I want you, like, don't ever be afraid to like post that selfie, like that people are going to care that you're like trying to be a thirst trap or whatever. And then it was like, you do you in 2020 because like you, like, who cares what other people think? You shouldn't not do things because you're afraid of what other people are going to think.
Right.
And then I posted it, and then your comment was thirst trap, and I thought it was really funny. And I just was like, I was at the beach with my nephew, so it was hard to like comment and stuff.
It was actually hashtag thirst trap.
Whatever.
And then also get it boo with 3 flames
yeah, that's
afterwards.
true. You did do that.
Yeah. I want to be clear that it was both a joke and I'd not to be mad at me. And as I noticed, guys, the comments were like piling up and everyone else's comments were getting like 2, 3, 4 likes. The only person who liked my hysterical fucking comment was Ariel. Ariel. Baby, I love you.
Maybe she thought I commented on myself.
Yeah,
myself.
It was an Inception
Instagram post.
Which I did this morning. Did you see that?
No.
Overheard shared one of our stories. Then I shared them sharing it.
Yep.
And I said, story sharing Inception.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So, and my number, I don't even remember where we were at, but basically my number 2 like is with the podcast, the amount of people that like reach out. Like not just like people we've had on, but like listeners, you mentioned it with Drew's and, we've gotten it with some other podcasts and some of them that resonate with people. I'm honestly really surprised, but I've made some, I'm using air quotes, friends. I mean, you're all my friends if you're listening, but there have been people who have reached out who I've maintained friendships with and become kind of just like social media buddies or whatever. And that's like huge. We've gotten some big fans, people who are like really rabid. I wanted to give a shout out to CC312. She's an influencer and food blogger who's recently gotten on board, started sharing our stuff. She binged 7 episodes yesterday. So guys, give her a follow on Instagram. And like that's kind of what it's all about, like building this community. And I've just been fucking loving it.
I know. And you're really good at it.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to do with any of that. So you are the social media sniper.
I motherfucker. About goddamn. For 2020, Jenna's 6th resolution is giving me the credit I am due.
I give you credit. That's bullshit.
I know. You said I was good at photography and you acknowledge I'm the social.
I'm feeling very generous today.
If anybody doubts I'm the social media sniper.
You get like today when the overheard share.
Yeah.
You literally, your text message popped up with the words on because it like, gives me the preview or whatever. Yeah. And then right under it was the Instagram thing. It was like simultaneous, like them actually like tagging us in. And I was like, yeah, I know. Like I literally at the same time.
I moved quick.
You were so fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a lot of free time to be on Instagram these days.
I mean, I guess so. Okay.
On Instagram at Chicago Cafe Racer.
So my other high for the year was Rob. I mean, even though we're not together anymore, but what I think is significant about it is that, like, as we all know, I've dated a lot, right, since the divorce. But it was
the divorce. Dun, dun, dun.
But it was probably the most significant one I had because I allowed myself to kind of go there with him in like this vulnerable spot that I don't normally get to with people. He made it very easy to get there. Little did I know it would end up like whatever. But I think it was a good lesson for me and it was a good growth moment for me because it allowed me to really kind of trust somebody again and kind of like open myself up. Because like everybody else, like I've dated like here and there and on and off, but it's never lasted longer than like a month. So it's kind of nice to be able to do that and kind of, I don't know, go there and know that I'm still able to do that. And like my heart isn't completely frozen over.
That's great.
I think so.
Yeah. Man.
It's not made of ice like I thought it was.
It's not. So guys, you can get through it with a wooden stake.
Wow.
Just kidding. That is how you kill a vampire, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Energy vampire, emotional vampire, who knows?
Are we talking about me or you right now?
Oh, it's totally me.
Okay.
We're always talking about me.
Just checking.
I watched since I am recommending everything under the sun. I watched a TV series this year called What We Do in the Shadows.
Uh-huh.
It's on FX. It's a remake of a really funny movie, and in it, there's an episode where it's like about vampires. But in it, there's an episode where a woman is just an energy vampire, or there's an energy vampire guy and an emotional vampire woman. And I was like, oh, that's probably my parents, and that's how I wound up being both of them.
Maybe.
Probably.
Okay. So that was what was your other high?
Wait, don't I have to do a second dislike?
Oh yeah, you're right. You do a dislike.
Okay. So I love Instagram, obviously. Like, I love the connective nature of social media, but I also hate like hearing people's dumb fucking political takes.
Oh, please. Especially now.
Yeah. So like right now, guys, I don't know how politically active you are, but Iran, World War III, all the things, impeachment.
Do you really think it?
Who knows? That's not our podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows
Scary.
where I stand, but I don't know like where our fans and listeners stand, so I'm going to keep it to myself. But I just hate hearing it.
You're allowed to have an opinion.
For sure. I have many. I have many of them.
It's our podcast.
Check into opinions. No, but I just hate it. That's like Facebook. The reason why I prefer Instagram is I can enjoy it without ever looking at any of the bullshit you write.
Totally.
Like, I do not need to know what the dude I went to high school with who like dropped out and has like 9 kids thinks about like constitutional law. It's like, bro, I don't care. Just shut the fuck up. Mm-hmm. That is my number 2 dislike. And realistically, I dislike that more than I dislike anything about the podcast. I just put podcast number 1 for dramatic effect.
I see.
Yeah, Facebook in particular.
I agree with you on that one, especially right now. Everything that's going on, I get. So I mean, I don't hide people, but I just don't get on Facebook anymore. I'm over it.
Right.
Okay. So then my low, of course, was the breakup, because that really sucked. Because of what I said in right before this, was that I actually allowed myself to kind of go there with somebody new, and then it came back to bite me in the ass.
Go where? The butthole?
Jesus, really? No.
She's trying to be like emotionally vulnerable, and I'm just I let somebody go there. It was just one finger to the knuckle. I mean, that's not even a date.
Wow. Anyway, I think it was really hard at first, of course, because of, whatever.
Because you didn't start off slow?
Wow. I didn't use enough lube. That's the worst.
Just
lesson learned.
Just spit.
Womp womp. That's not going to be enough. But some of it triggered a lot of like old feelings and whatnot, which was not okay with me. Kind of have to wade through those and sit with those for a little bit and figure out why I felt that way. Which is the only way, obviously. Like, that's the hard thing about breakups, is that like you just kind of want to move on. But I think the healthy way to deal with them is to sit in those feelings for a minute and actually really like kind of figure out what the root of those feelings are, right? It's never just like, I'm just sad. But why am I sad, right? There's, it triggered a bunch of old feelings and things like that. So I think you take each breakup as a lesson. And in fact, this psychic woman today said pretty much the same thing. She's like, these people are never a coincidence. These people are put into your life. She's like, you'll notice a pattern. You'll notice a pattern of things that keep reoccurring in your relationships. And it's because you haven't broken that habit yet. So if you keep seeing the same patterns over and over in a behavior of somebody that you're dating, there's a reason they keep happening and they're not resolving, is because you're not learning the lesson to not date people like that, or that you don't do well with that kind of personality. So for me, there was, I kind of had to take a step back after the breakup and think, which was great. I mean, it was shitty timing because it was right fucking before Merry Christmas to me. But what it did was I was off for 2 weeks for work. So it allowed me to kind of do that and look, a little bit deeper, not so surface level. And I was in Florida with my parents, so I got to do it on a beach with margaritas. So I'm not that mad about it.
I wouldn't be either. I have a pathological compulsion and addiction to drinking margaritas.
Oh, same. I think it's in my tequila's in my DNA.
I've talked about Tuco and Blondie so many times.
They should sponsor us.
You know what? Actually,
give us a free meal.
I'm changing my third like. I'm switching it all around.
Is
it my time to give my third like now? All right, everybody knows I consider myself a bit of an amateur foodie, of the many things that I sometimes wrongly consider myself. I consider myself an amateur foodie. I like to cook. I like photography. I like going out to eat a lot, because who doesn't? But one of the things, I'd say my number 3 like from 2019, and this is a bit of a redirect from what I was going to talk about, which was that people ask me for dating advice in real life all the time, which I think is hysterical. But really, I want to...
Those that can't do.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
And people will ask me about stuff, and then they'll be like, I'll give them advice that is like irrefutably good advice. And they'll just be like, that's so good. Why don't you ever do that stuff? I'm like,
wow, so much easier to preach it than to do it yourself.
Really, certainly is. But so now my new third like for 2019 is just the Chicago restaurant scene. Like, I love going out to eat. I love margaritas. I love Mexican food. As I was starting this little thing here about Tuco and Blondie. I've mentioned it in so many episodes that many listeners, both listeners who are people from our lives that exist already, or people who I've met since the beginning of this podcast, through the podcast, they will call out Tuco and Blondie as like the known spot that I go on my dates. Like it's become such a thing. So Tuco and Blondie, we're going to tag you in this post. I'm going to explain in our.
Are you going to thank me for that or no? I'm just waiting.
No, you introduced it.
Yeah.
I've gone on a bunch of first dates there.
I know.
I've gone on many second,
Including
third.
ours.
Exactly. But I've gone on so many first dates there. It's really a cool place.
I know. Let's be honest here. I see the smile on your face. You know where I'm going to go with this.
No one. You're a loose cannon. Nobody knows where you're going.
The reality is all of the good date spots that you've taken people to.
No.
Yes.
No.
At least, are you serious? I can name 3 off the top of my head.
All I can think of is the place next to Shuba's. What's that called? Tide House.
Yep.
And the place we were just talking about, Tuco.
Yes.
And where else?
The Dawson.
Oh, I have gone to the Dawson.
Yeah, I know.
But that was on my list before you told me about it.
Whatever. You're welcome.
Okay,
Anyway.
so my 2019
So if anyone
third
really
like
needs the recommendations, you should ask me.
Bullshit, I'm great at it. So for 2019, I love Chicago restaurants and Jenna's recommendations.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
Okay, what's yours?
Okay, my last one is... So, I pulled back a little bit on the drinking. Not the month of December. Let me tell you, my fucking liver. This guy at the pool.
Foie gras?
Yeah. So I was going to say, this guy at the pool, when I was at my parents' house, basically it was like, he was hysterical. And we were talking and he goes, honestly, like the month of December with all the drinking, he's like, my liver's like foie gras. And I was like, I feel that so hard. Same. So outside of December, though, I've tried to cut down a lot on the drinking and being a little bit more present. And I think it's really helped me get back to a good place with a lot of my friendships. Because I remember, I think I mentioned this on the podcast, like it was getting in the way. Like I was kind of like medicating really instead of like dealing with feelings and stuff. So I think it's kind of allowed me to be more present, and it's allowed me to reconnect with a lot of friends. And I mean, it takes effort. It's like effort. Like friendships take effort. I like to think that from a standpoint of a friend, like I have friends, my friend Christina, who I've been friends with for 20 something years. She and I don't talk. We talk for maybe every couple of months and catch up. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't run in front of a train for her, right? Like I'm the kind of friend who you don't necessarily have to be.
I don't think you wouldn't run in front of it, but you would take a leisurely stroll in front of it for her. I would
trip in front of it.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm not very coordinated. But the point is like I'm the kind of friend who doesn't necessarily need someone to check in on me every day, as long as I know that you're there if I need you. But I've realized that not everyone is like that, and friendships take as much work as like romantic relationships sometimes. So I've kind of gotten back to trying to do that and trying to be present and trying to check in and ask more questions and all that good stuff. So that was my other high. Lots of lessons learned this year, I think.
So many lessons.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And then you have one low, right?
I do. So for 2019, this was a dislike, and now it's going to be like a like for 2020. Oh. So toxic people. Dislike them for 2019, and the removal of them is what I love for 2020. So guys, I know I'm not unique in this. I've had toxic relationships in my life, within friends and romantic relationships and sometimes at jobs and even in my family. And everyone has had that. And I think that's why it's so relatable. And I wanted to just talk about this. You just have to cut people off when it's really bad and it's really toxic and it's really shitty. And if people, this is so cliche, but we are who we surround ourselves with. And if you're surrounding yourself with people who, have substance abuse problems, or people who are like emotionally abusive or narcissistic or have these qualities, like you're subjecting yourself to that. You're making those decisions, and you have to be your best advocate. So for 2019, I was like, toxic people, I'm fucking fed up. 2020 going forward, zero toxicity. You're all gone in the fucking dumpster, not in the recycle bin, in the dumpster.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, B.
Bye, B. Is that what you
said?
B. Okay. So my last low of 2019, my fucking wallet debacle.
The wallet debacle of 2019.
God,
fuck you, Boss Bar and Starbucks.
Honestly, this was such a fucking shit. This was such a shit thing to have to happen twice. Not once. I know.
What a horrible way to have proven how much of a dipshit you are, Jenna.
No, No,
Just
the second time
kidding.
wasn't my fault. The first time because I was at a bar, I sat it down. The second time, this bitch reached into my fucking bag. Like, how was I to know that was going to happen?
Just keep a small knife on you, prepared at all times.
Seriously, I went back in there.
We're ready to fuck somebody up.
Yeah, I was looking for her. Not that I would have done anything, but I would have at least yelled at her. Anyway, so I really have no positive spin here like I've been trying to do for the other ones, but fuck it. I'm never, ever want to go through that again. My head might actually explode.
Let's hope not. It's a pretty face. We don't want to disfigure it.
Thanks. I might just become a hermit in 2020 so that that doesn't happen again.
All right, well, that's my top likes and dislikes.
Same.
How do you feel? Okay, now 2020, we've closed the book on 2019.
I'm ready.
We're looking forward to 2020. Give me your 90-second synopsis on what you think about 2020. What's going to go on for you, for Jenna, in 2020?
According to this woman, my company is going to be sold and I'm going to find love.
Okay.
So it's a big year for me.
Who needs 90 seconds when you've got the medium just telling you what is up? Okay, well,
What about you?
I'm here for it. Well, my 90-second 2020 is just diving into my passions, following things that I love with absolute energy and enthusiasm, kind of looking at 2020 as a bit of a reset, just taking some chances in terms of my career and my relationships and just making sure that I am in position to be the most fulfilled version of myself for 2020.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to communicate better.
We are definitely going to communicate better. We are. Guys, can you hear it already? I mean, we've had emotional bonding in this that's we haven't had in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we go, I want to give everybody a heads up on what's coming up. You know, Jen had mentioned we got some great guests coming up, and just kind of give you guys a little bit of a taste. We have Lucia Whalen and Caroline Twyman. They're two Chicago comedians who host a really funny podcast. They're going to be coming on. The aforementioned Andrea Rappaport is going to come, and we're doing a fun little twist. She's actually going to be interviewing us on that episode, which is fun. She's got some interviewing experience. She's a kind of a guest correspondent on Jam TV.
Which we now learned is
CW. Yeah. As I mentioned, B. Casper, she's going to be coming on to talk about her crazy ass life and her cool fucking podcast. Mm-hmm. Alexis Knowles, comedian and Twitch streamer. She's coming on. She's also very funny. We've got Dan Castor recording next week, Chicago area comedian and content creator. And then last but not least, Amber Autry, another Chicago comedian. They're all super funny. Look them all up. Check them out on Instagram. Just look for their names. You'll find them pretty easily. And that's really all from me. Anything from you, G?
Nope, that's it.
All right, guys, quick thank you to everyone who makes this show happen, not just for today, not just for last week, but for all of 2019 and for everything you're going to do for us in 2020. You are the best. Thank you for downloading and listening to the show. If you want to find out more about us, you know the drill, but please do it. Go to Menage-A-Podcast. Make sure you're writing us a review on Apple Podcasts. More than anything, that's all I want you to do. I give you all these instructions every week. Most of you are probably checking out for this, but please just write us a review. I'm begging. If I have to, I'll straight offer ZJs out there.
I still don't know what that means.
No, that's because you can't afford it. So again, until next time, share us in your stories, retweet, do all the bullshit. And guys, for 2020, I'm not going to say good luck out there because you're going to have good luck out there.
Yeah.
Happy 2020. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.